Sweet as Honey Season 2 with Reese Christine.
So cute.
Give us a big one, go.
A big one?
Don't smash your finger.
Do it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back to Sweet as Honey Season 2. We have the embodiment of Sweet as Honey right here, Miss Reese.
Such an honor.
She is the sweetest little Southern belle, and I'm so excited you're joining us today.
I'm so honored to be here.
Yay, long time coming. So Reese is my sweet little boot buddy. I got to meet her this year and had the pleasure of dancing with her all year. And she won't ever admit it, but she's like the most talented person ever and so humble. So it's been so fun having you on the team, and I'm just so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you. That is such a stretch, first of all. That is way
not at
too
all.
kind. But no, this has just been such a sweet, just beautiful year. And that says a lot about who you are as a leader, and not just because you're an incredible dancer, but because you're a more amazing human. And so
You're so sweet. See, I told you. She's just like sweet as honey. Oh, you're so nice. I just love you and adore you so much. But I want Sweet as Honey followers to know like all about you. So let's start kind of telling me like where you grew up, how you started dancing, just your background. Give us a little insight.
So I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. And I started dancing when I was 3. So as soon as I could pretty much walk, I was in ballet shoes, tights, and a leotard. And so just fell in love with it at a very young age, and wanted to, as I got older, wanted to take just everything that my studio offered. So tap, jazz, ballet, lyrical, hip hop, modern, and even clogging. I did clog for a few years.
That's pretty
good.
good.
A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, I did everything in acro. I mean, anything you could think of, I was doing it. And so then I went to an arts middle school, and just that was kind of when I became really hungry for wanting to be like a professional dancer one day, and I had high hopes for a professional career one day. Yeah, I really fell in love in middle school and went to a arts high school as well. And that was more on the conservatory track. So I was doing a lot of classical modern. I was doing pointe every day. We had incredible guest artists that would come in and teach us, and really saw myself going more the conservatory route until the Lord was like, hey, here's a sweet offer to the University of Alabama, where I just was not expecting to go to a huge, big SEC school, and then fell in love with the dance program there, and then wanted to try out for a dance team, and I did, and I had the best 4 years I could have ever hoped for. So,
and that's how you kind of got to where you are now. I mean, this is your first year on DCC, but I will say, like, I just, you know, when you first meet somebody, you're like, you never know how they're going to dance. And like, I was told the same thing too. You're just so soft-spoken, and then you see somebody dance and you're like, whoa, like she's really good.
That's so sweet.
I know, but we were all just like, that girl's a rock star. You're going to breeze through training camp, and you did so well. And so, yeah, I'm so impressed by you in all areas of life. But okay, so what was your school called that you went to, the performing arts?
Yeah, I went to La Villa Middle School.
Okay.
And then I went to Douglas Anderson School of the Arts High School in Jacksonville, and then Bama.
Did you compete growing up?
I did not actually. Okay. A lot of people like always ask me that question.
Yeah.
My studio back home, Scott Jones School of Dance, we performed everywhere. We didn't have a dance competition group.
Okay.
And so we just performed all over Jacksonville. We even performed at Universal Studios and Disney.
Very cool. Yeah.
Which is really fun. Yeah, so especially going to an art school, we didn't compete there either. So that was kind of eye-opening when I went to my first UDA.
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
Oh my gosh. Well, everyone's so used to competing, and that was my first competition ever. So
nerve-wracking.
Nerve-wracking for sure, but I fell in love with it because it was such a different type of dance. And like, you had something to kind of fight for and represent that was bigger than yourself. So that was really sweet.
I feel like people wouldn't know how intimidating that stage is, but when you walk out of the castle, you're like, oh, you just feel the pressure on you because you have 2 minutes to like not mess anything up and do, you know, it's everything you've worked for. It's such a big moment.
Right. One shot. You've literally have been practicing like 3-a-days is what we call it, or 2-a-days. And all throughout Christmas break, all throughout, you know, you start like in the summer or even like early fall, and then just don't stop until January, the second weekend of January. And then you walk out, like you said, through that castle and you're like, okay, this is my one shot. Here we go. Like, don't mess up.
Feel the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Literally.
But it is such an incredible, like, once in a lifetime experience. And so it's awesome that you had the opportunity.
Oh my gosh. It is such an honor getting to represent. I mean, any school can attest to this, any college athlete. But when you have, you know, your school's brand on you and across your chest, there is just another like pride that just exudes out of you. And you just want to do your best, not only for your teammates and for all the hard work you've put in, but for your school, because you're representing at the end of the day your university or college. So
definitely. And Alabama's a big university to represent.
Roll Tide.
I love it. I know I have so much pride, like watching my old schools compete. I'm like, oh, they're just doing great things. And it's fun to get to cheer them on the other side of it too.
It is.
Yay. Well, very off topic, but I feel like I have to bring it up because Reese is getting married like next weekend.
Yes.
That's so exciting.
8 days. I guess technically today's almost over with, so we can count a week.
Yeah, the countdown begins.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's so surreal. This year has just flown by. And then especially when we hit April, I like blinked and there we are. We're just about to be married. So crazy, but so excited.
So cool. You guys have a cute story on how you met, right?
Yes.
Will you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny. We were kind of in a spot in our lives where, you know, I feel like when I went to college, I was hopeful that maybe I would meet someone, maybe not, you know, just depending on what the Lord had planned. And I was at a time where I just kind of wasn't seeking a relationship. I was like, I'm just living my life, like as a freshman, just trying to figure it all out. And so my fiance Will is the biggest Alabama basketball specifically fan that there is.
Yes, that's right.
And we were playing, I was cheering. We were playing Tennessee, so one of our biggest rivals.
Yeah.
And the Coliseum is just packed. There's so many people, of course, because it's a rivalry game and it's fun, it's electric. But Will, who was a part of the student section throughout his entire college career, he was a sophomore and he had just finished a test. And it was like later in the evening. So after he got done with his test, he was running to the Coliseum, like didn't even get in his car.
He's such a big fan.
He was like trying to get there so quickly. And there were a lot of fans leaving saying like, oh, we're up, you know, we're going to be fine. We're leaving the game now. And Will's like, you never know what happens in basketball, okay? People like, he's trying to get in there. And I think he gets in probably, I could butcher this, but it might have been like the last quarter.
Okay.
Or not quarter, but second half. There's like just a few minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
And so he's getting in there as fast as he can. So he almost misses the game, but it's, you know, special that he didn't because that's where he saw me for the first time.
So cute.
And
he said, I want her.
It is a really sweet story. And I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing, but we giggle at it now because we're like, oh my gosh, we were so like babies.
Yeah.
You know? It's funny sharing this story, but as like being a part of the dance team, we're a part of the Spirit program. So that's cheerleading, that's co-ed all-girl dance team, and our mascots are Big Owls. And so we're all one program. I knew at the time who Big Owl was. And there was a little boy that was trying to get Big Owl's attention. And I was seeing kind of that communication of like, oh, I want to get Big Owl's attention, but of course, like Big Al is just doing his
He's
thing.
busy. Yeah.
He's busy. And so I was like, oh, well, let me try to get Big Al for this little boy. And so he did. And the three of us kind of had this like little conversation, just little moment, I guess, together. And Will had said that he watched that entire
Interaction.
Yeah. And so I thought that was so sweet because a lot of people don't see that. And especially Will being so focused on,
getting
such
to
a
the
big game.
Yeah.
The fact that it was just kind of the Lord's way of just kind of crossing our paths.
Yeah.
And at the time we didn't know that it would cross like paths and be there forever. But it's just such a sweet story. And so I followed him, or he followed me on Instagram that night, and I will say I did slide up on the DMs. I will go ahead and say it because he's going to make sure if he was here, he'd be like, but she slid up on the DMs. So anyways, that's kind of how we met. I saw that he had some mutual friends. I was going to a church at a time where I was in a freshman Bible study class, and a lot of the people that he followed, I followed too. So I was like, oh, maybe this is a good person. I've got some good friends. We got good mutual friends.
Yeah.
And so the rest is history.
What'd you say on the DM? I have to know.
So it was a song that he had posted, and I honestly can't even remember the song anymore, but I just like slid up with heart eyes on it. And we just kind of kept talking. We went on our first, I guess, get to know each other / date at another Broken Egg. And it was on Leap Day. So it was February 28th. And then 2 weeks after that, the pandemic happened. And so that was like the only time we saw each other. And then just kind of kept in contact and got back to school. I guess hybrid. We didn't really know what that year was going to look like. And then really got to know each other because of just, there's a lot of more opportunities to actually get to know someone and be normal.
Right.
But yeah, that's our story.
So sweet. And now you're getting married.
Yes.
Stepping into that stage of life, which is so exciting.
It is.
Are you excited for it?
I am.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people are like, oh my gosh, you're going to be a married woman. Like, that's like some sort of like accolade or like title where I'm like, listen, I feel like y'all put that as like a really high standard, which it is, but I'm not going to have everything together, okay? Like, just because I have a married woman, like, I'm still Reese. I still don't know what I'm doing. We're just going to figure it out. I just have a forever best friend. So.
Oh, I love that. It's so sweet. So sweet. And I know you've told me like you guys have some good people pouring into you.
Yes.
You have a mentor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So something that's really special about our story is I'm going to probably get a little emotional because this week I'm writing my vows.
Aww.
And so anytime I try to write my vows, I'm like,
crying.
But I actually mention our mentors in our vows because they truly we would not be where we are today if it wasn't for them.
That's awesome.
Obviously our family, our friends, and all the people who've poured into us, but truly those two specific people.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time, this kind of goes back to Will and my story, how we met, but Will not knowing kind of just how the year was going to look like after getting back from being gone, 6 months because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know what the year looked like. So he actually moved in with the youth pastor he was interning for at the church that he worked at.
Mm-hmm.
And so he literally lived with them and went to school there. And their names are Taylor and Lindley. And Taylor's the youth minister there at our church. And he was like, well, come move in with us. Don't settle on rent because you don't know what this year is going to look like. Just move in with us. How sweet.
So sweet.
So sweet.
Yeah.
So anyways, they were pregnant with their firstborn, first boy. And, just that already is a sacrifice. I feel like in itself, having kind of this, I should probably back up a little bit because they knew Will at, when he was in 8th grade at the church he went to back where he's from, which is Morris, Alabama. And Taylor was kind of the intermediate pastor there for just a short period of time, but met Will when he was younger. And so when Will went to Alabama and Taylor started pastoring there in Tuscaloosa, that's when Will was like, "Oh my gosh, like, can I be your intern?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember me, yada, yada, yada." And so they had just like completely bonded. They knew Will before they knew me. And so when Will and I started really getting to know each other, he was like, "I've got to let you, like, you've got to come over and meet Taylor and Lindley." And I'm like, "Who are these people?
Random
what am
strangers.
I doing?"
Yeah.
And so I go and I literally spent every single day at their house.
I remember you telling me that.
Every single day at their house. I got to kind of walk with Lindley and her pregnancy. Their testimony is, I mean, we could just go on and on and on, but their testimony is so beautiful. She had lost her mom in a year or two right before I kind of met them. She's lost her brother. Taylor's lost his brother. Like,
wow.
They've walked through a lot.
Yeah, a lot of loss.
A lot of loss. So it was just so sweet to just kind of, I guess, step into their family. They welcomed me with open arms and really poured into our relationship. I'm in awe at how blessed we were to have had mentors, because a lot of college students are going to graduate from their college and say that they never had mentors like that. And I think it was especially beautiful because, you know, we were dating. We didn't know where this was going to go, but they kind of helped us just be a representation of like what a godly marriage should look like. And so we strive for that, and we wanted to be like them, but also we just, as kind of a family, grew, and we all fell in love with each other. But also, like, that's where Will and I really fell in love, was just kind of being around them and having them minister and pour into us. And so
sweet.
Yeah. I could go on and on and on about them. But
that is so special though. And I feel like so many people don't know what they're getting themselves into. And they're like saying yes to getting married. And obviously you have your maybe parents' example or something.
Absolutely.
But
yes,
I do think having a couple that is outside your own family that you can like look up to and talk to and ask questions is so helpful. And it's so like rare for sure. So
absolutely. Especially in college. That's such a pivotal, huge part of your life where you really kind of discover who you are, and you kind of see like what your interests are, or you need help like spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, all the things. And we were just so blessed to have mentors that weren't far from, you know, just being in college, and could really just, you know, pour into us in that way.
For sure. No, I love that so much. I've always said, like, I feel like you need a mentor, and that's in every stage of life. Like one that's maybe like a few years ahead of you, and then one that's like, you know, married with kids, and maybe even like older, like a grandparent, or like just somebody in a different stage of life that can really like speak into you. And I love that. I love being a sponge, and just hearing like the wisdom that they have to pour out onto you, and you know you can trust is so nice.
Absolutely.
What do you think, like, what's been the best advice that they've given you for a godly relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that's a good question. They have taught us so much and have just invested in us tremendously. But I think, so I've listened to so many of Taylor's messages just with being a part of the youth ministry there. But his kind of testimony is just being a kingdom builder and doing things to make the kingdom bigger. And so I think something that they taught us without even just sharing with us out loud is just knowing that as we become a unit, that our goal as, you know, husband and wife is to make the kingdom bigger. And so that doesn't, you know, it doesn't happen just in marriage. That's just life. Like you want to make the kingdom bigger wherever you go, whatever, you know, walk of life and season you're in. But I think with them specifically, just being who they are, and me meeting them at a time where they were growing their family, and us kind of being inspired by them, it was just a moment where I really got to see that like their marriage is making the kingdom bigger. So yeah, another thing that they've really taught us is just they've walked through a lot of just loss, of grief, of literally walking through the shadows.
Yeah.
And so they've just shown us like what it means to always have joy in the midst of sorrow and pain, and always pointing others to Jesus, even in a time when you don't feel like he's there. Like they always just point back to give him the glory, even if they're walking through a really hard time.
Yeah,
So
such a great example.
yeah, absolutely.
Something that you said that really has stuck with me and I've heard a lot is just like your marriage and your relationship should be like a partnership for God, and like you two are stronger together. And so I think that's really special that you mentioned like they have that. And I think it can be as simple as like just being a host to people, you know, and like opening up your home and inviting people in like they did to Will. And even that just makes such a big impact. But I think it's so important to like find somebody that you're aligned with on and you can run the race together, because you're right. Like at the end of the day, our whole goal here on earth is to make disciples and to bring people into the kingdom of heaven. And how you do that is so important. So like having a best friend in that is really great. And I'm 100%. Sure you and Will have talked a lot about that. But.
100%. They've inspired us to one day, hopefully, if it's in the Lord's will in our lives, soon as a married couple, our hope is that we can be an inspiration and a Taylor and Lindley for another Reese and Will. That would just be full circle and such an honor.
I'm sure you guys will. And that's such a great goal. I love that. I know you've told me a little bit about just the importance they've been in your life in that way, but I know you got to honor them this year with My Cause, My Boot. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Yeah. So I was kind of back and forth on two different things. Alzheimer's and dementia patients really kind of run through my family. And so I felt like that would be a really sweet way to honor some of my family members. But because they're currently still battling that, I just felt like it wasn't time yet. Just because that's still something that we're really walking through as a family. But it was really easy to pick Taylor and Lindley because of just the things that they have faced. But My Cause, My Boot is pregnancy infant loss awareness, because Taylor and Lindley were pregnant with their firstborn, had a perfect pregnancy. I mean, Lindley was so healthy. Beckett was their firstborn's name. Cute. And Beckett was just so strong, so healthy. I mean, perfect pregnancy, especially as your first pregnancy. Like that was just, it's been awesome. But when Lindley went into the hospital, this is such an honor to be with her during this time, but I was with her the day before she went to the hospital. And we had gone to church, and she was like, I'm just feeling kind of weird. We knew, I want to say it was Monday. So this was Sunday. The next day she was going to get induced. And so I was like, maybe you're having like contractions. Like maybe the Lord is like making Beckett come naturally, like on his own. And I knew that was kind of something that she prayed for, but either way, as long as, everything goes well. But anyway, so she was having some contractions, but we found that they were just like really off and kind of random. So we were like really taking note on, obviously I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a professional.
You don't know.
I was just Googling, and I was like looking at like what the contraction time span and everything should be like. And Lindley was like, well, I don't know either. And so we're just trying to figure it out together. And so anyways, Taylor was out, I think, getting like some food for Lindley. And Lindley was like, hey, I think we need to go to the hospital. And so Taylor gets back and they pack up and they leave. They get to the hospital, and Beckett, they couldn't find his heartbeat. She had a concealed placenta abruption. So that was just they're, they've walked through so much loss just
Already.
already, and that being their firstborn,
Yeah.
Jesus decided that he wanted him, not on this side of heaven, but with him. And so that was just something that Will and I watched and witnessed, like these two people just so excited to start their family and bring their firstborn into this world, and then that doesn't happen. And so but instead of just really going deep in their grief and letting it sulk, they started their nonprofit organization called Beckett's Blessing Box, where they would send resources to other mommies and daddies who've lost
So sweet.
a child, and whether that's stillborn or I can't. You're getting emotional. I'm getting emotional now. But any. I mean, from stillborn to 18, you name it. Like, they want to pour and invest into other families who've lost a child. And so these resources are devotionals, Bibles, journals, candles, blankets. Taylor is actually, he's published a few children's books, so he's
sweet.
incorporated those in there. And so these resources have been prayed over, and in hopes that they can bring comfort and joy to other families who have lost a child. So instead of just, letting the enemy win, instead they are letting God win, because he already has won, but is really trying to, their mission is to make him known, but also to bring comfort to those families who have faced the unimaginable. And so that's something that I wanted to promote, because I think it's something that doesn't get talked about often.
Definitely not.
Especially like as I'm getting older, there's more of my family or my friends who are becoming pregnant, or like my older sisters are starting their family. And there are a lot of women, 1 in every 4 women face a miscarriage.
Yeah.
And so it's something that is hard to wrap your head around. And there's a lot of just guilt and embarrassment, and that's so unnecessary, but it's naturally put upon a family when they are facing that. And so it's something that we need to bring to light. And so I hope that we can shine a bright light on that this is common, that this is something that a lot of, moms and dads are facing. And hopefully I can spread awareness for Beckett's Blessing Box, and that we can send out boxes to so many families, not only, helping them in their time of grief, but also sharing the gospel.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a powerful story. I'm like, I just am speechless a little bit, because like, I just can't even imagine, being prepared for such a miracle to happen, and setting your heart up for that, and, preparing a space for a life to come in the world, and like that being taken away. Yeah. One would just be so like heartbreaking, but like no one prepares you for that moment. And there's definitely, like, I'm sure she dealt with a lot of grief and disappointment and pain in that way too. But I mean, the fact that they were able to turn it into something that is a light for others now, and it points to Jesus, and they're still praising God in the middle of something that's like so difficult and not easy, not easy to do in the middle of those circumstances. It's just a testament to, their faith and their trust in his plan and stuff. So
100%.
Yeah, that's so inspiring. And I'm glad you shared that, because I think there are so many women, and we're getting to be that age where it's just like happening all the time.
Your friends are getting pregnant. You're like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
But there's also that chance and that possibility. And, I've definitely heard a lot of stories and people struggling to even get pregnant. And so the fact that, they have Beckett's Blessing Box to just provide comfort and, and spread the gospel too is so sweet. I love that.
It is.
Such a sweet story. I feel like the theme of a lot of my conversations recently has been like, God wants us to use the trials we face to bless other people because like
100%.
he helps you through it. You come out on the other side.
Yeah.
And then it's now your turn to bless somebody else through that and, help walk with them. And that's why he gives us people in our life to do that with us. And so it's like sweet that, he knows we need people there to relate. And so now they're able to do that. And that's part of their testimony. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
As a Christian, we're not promised a perfect, great, awesome, life. Like, yes, there are beautiful moments, but, we're promised, we live in a fallen world, so nothing's going to be perfect. And so I don't know what is in store for Will and I in the future and just kind of like whatever we walk through, but I'm just so grateful that we've had mentors who have walked through already so much and that we can kind of look up to them in a way that, okay, when trials come, we're not just going to sulk in it. We're going to, aspire to be like Taylor and Lindley, and so that we can point others to Christ like they have us. So
I love that. And I'll be praying over you guys in your marriage. I'm sure that you will be such a blessing to everyone. And that's so exciting. Such a fun part of life.
I'm so excited.
Yes. And, I tell all the girls this, I'm like, I'll be cheering you on from the stands next year. But I'm very excited for that part of your journey too. I know you have a bright future and are going to impact a lot of girls on that team and more ways than dance,
Thank you.
But you do need to know that you're like an incredible
my
dancer.
gosh.
We're always like, Reese!
Stop. No. Oh my gosh. I tell everyone this, but like Technique Tuesdays, for example, that's just like that's a way where I can actually see my teammates just do their thing and just show off, you know? And every single time we're in groups, my mouth is just like,
I know.
Wow. I'm so amazed by just the talent that we have on our team. And
so cool.
That is you, sister. So I just remember watching the show and being so obsessed with your class because obviously they've had such a unique kind of journey and training camp, just being the Bowl girls and everything. But not just that. I mean, you are so talented. And so, I mean, I'm just so honored that I get to say that I was Claire's teammate. Like, that's so cool to me. So
when she came into training camp, we have to pick our boot buddies, and I was like, I'm snatching her up. She's mine. She's all mine.
Our Neapolitan group.
Yes, I knew. I was like, she is on fire for the Lord, and she loves to dance. I was like, we're just gonna get along so well. And I wish the year gets so crazy, and I know I say it to you guys all the time, but I'm like, I just wish we could go get coffee and be able to catch up. And this year was insane.
So busy, but so fun at the same time. You just had a lot though too on your plate. I mean, so many sweet opportunities, but y'all had a lot of responsibilities.
We did, and it's so hard to go and have a full conversation with everyone, and you want to. I wish there was 2 hours built into our schedule.
My gosh, but 35 of us is a lot, or 36, but.
Exactly. Some days all you get is a high. But I'm excited to just see where, life takes you. And I have lots of time now, so now we can talk.
I would love that.
I know. But I'm so grateful that you took your time to come on, Sweetest Honey, and I know everything you said will just bless a lot of people. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast today. Make sure you subscribe, follow Sweetest Honey on all the social channels to keep up with all the fun content. And love you guys. Thanks for listening today. Thank you, Reese.
Thank you for having me. This is the sweetest treat.